All right, what up, y'all? What up? It's Mike Swagger. You already know the deal. Man, I wanted to finish these 50 questions. Honestly, I was supposed to finish this like 2 weeks ago, and so I gotta stop. I gotta stop doing that. Anyway, so I wanted to finish these 50 questions a couple of weeks ago. Right now, I'm on hiatus as far as music goes. I gotta sit down and I gotta get my stuff right. You know what I mean? As far as just life in general. So, things are going well. Don't get me wrong, things are going well. I don't want to say like like, oh well, things are super bad. Like financially, things could be better, but a lot has gone into really pulling everything together, really pulling my life back together. After years of just I don't want to. I mean, things not going my way. Put it that way. Things not going my way. Making mistakes, making friends with the wrong people. Wasting time. Living for days where it's just like, okay, well, where's the party at? And I feel like that's been a lot of my problem, which brings me to our questions. What like the fall, the isolation, the things that I've gone through, the silence, and so I really want to talk about that. I really want to talk about nobody wants to say they fell off or they don't want to come back or anything like that. I get it. It's not a good feeling to say like, oh, I fell off. And but it happens. It happens. People take falls. Unfortunately, some people got to go away. Some people just, they have to step back, and it is what it is. I don't think there's one artist that hasn't gone through some kind of fall in their career, because honestly, at the end of the day, it's tough to maintain that sort of stance and pressure for a long period of time without having some kind of drawback. This is about my life. This is about my life, and bringing it to my fans of where I was, and things that happened to me that made me have to take a step back before I take another step forward. So one of the questions is when everything started to fall apart, how did you mentally handle that shift? And at first I thought I said shit. I was like, man, ChatGPT be talking crap. So when things first started to fall apart, I would say in my career, I would say it was after a relationship, probably about 2018. Everything was going fantastic, man. Like, I just hit the radio. I just did Kush Stock. Over 100,000 people there, just opening up for Snoop Dogg. I just did like my top 2 hit songs. Well, I already had PIMP, but then I dropped All Booties Matter. That was going crazy. It was all over the radio. And I think things started to fall apart, not only because of the relationship. I mean, the relationship fell apart because of the same thing, the music started falling apart with. I was all about the party, doing cocaine and, running around with this, that, and the other thing. And, I forgot about, how important my music was to me versus, having fun, not making those sacrifices of, not partying. And I'm not saying don't go out. It's part of the nature of being in the music industry is you're out, but it's like also at the same time you can't get caught up in the party. I wasn't focused on the business as much as I was the elements of the girls, the party, the lights, the dancing, and all that stuff. And there's something to be said about I mean, definitely having the right people around you. And not that anybody like guided me in the wrong direction. I'm just a very strong-minded person, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is what's working for me. But at the end of the day, it wasn't working for me. So I feel like that mental shift. I started to see myself in a different light, and I started to, start like as I started to, digress or like, fall back in my career. Like, I started to kind of like put myself in a mode where like I needed validation again, you know. And when you've already had all the validation without even asking for it, and then you start putting yourself in the mode to where like it seems like you're trying to get that validation, or reattain that validation, people look at you funny because they're like, wait, you don't know who you are? Like, wait, what happened? You know, you don't know what you've done? And I've definitely been a person in the music industry that has, you know, changed things, you know, in the Inland Empire, you know, I don't want to say so much LA, but definitely, you know, built a really good name for myself in the IE. And, you know, even a lot of people know me in Las Vegas because of that, because a lot of people moved from there to Las Vegas. So, you know, definitely somebody who made some noise. And, you know, even as, you know, I started to kind of pull out of that, you know, I dropped the AKA The One album, and I started feeling great about myself again, you know, we shot music videos, you know, all that stuff, and, you know, I had a great job, and so, you know, things were going well, and I think what started to make it fall apart again was, you know, my father passed away, and, you know, I just kind of lost it, you know, I kind of lost all of that, and, you know, started trying to remember who I was, and trying to figure out, you know, what's next now. You know, my mother and my father are gone, and, you know, my brothers and sisters are, you know, spread out throughout the United States, and, you know, also, you know, out of the country. And I'm like, who am I? You know, who am I without all of them? You know, and unfortunately in the music industry, you know, when you start going through things, people start stepping away, and, you know, so when you start losing all of that and all those people that you thought were going to be there when times got rough and they're not, you know, it starts to make you wonder who you are. So what was one of the hardest parts about losing the spotlight and momentum? I would say one of the hardest things about losing the spotlight and momentum was, you know, it was like I didn't really know what to do with myself. You know, I was fighting for attention, and it's like, wow, like I gotta restart, you know, like I gotta restart all this. I have to, you know, prove myself all over again. Like I've done all of this already, you know, and so it's like instead of like just continuing to do it, like you start to try to explain it to everybody, like, oh yeah, but I've done this, I've done that, and it comes off more arrogant than in like egotistical than it does like, oh yeah, like yeah, you know, Mike Swagger, right? That's right, you did all this, blah blah blah. Because nobody cares. You know what I mean? Nobody cares about what you did. They only care about what you're doing. And a good friend of mine said that to me. And, you know, it made sense. I'm like, nobody cares about what you did. They care about what you're doing. And so, you know, one of the hardest parts is, you know, not only that, you know, we talked about betrayal as well, is like, you know, seeing like so many people that I thought like would just have my back, like kind of pull away and be like, oh, well, you know, nah, it's my turn now, you know? And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy because, you know, I've always supported you, you know, when I was at my height, and now that, you know, I'm starting to, you know, dwindle down a bit and not have so much favor, now, you know, you feel like it's your turn to do whatever and not support me, you know, the same way you did, you know. So that was kind of a hard part about it. And again, like I said, like losing the attention, and you see that a lot with, you know, artists and, you know, people in the spotlight, you know, it kind of messes with your mind because like you're always so used to people treating you a certain way, and then they stop and the phone stops ringing and they start treating you differently, and it's just, it feels weird. You know what I mean? It feels weird. You're like, what do I do? Where do I go? And a lot of times people crash out. I did crash out on a video. You know, I went viral for the wrong reason, and you know, it was just like I was missing the attention, and so, you know, the attention I was craving, you know, it made me lash out, you know, and you see that a lot. How did rumors, headlines, or hate affect you personally? Rumors. So honestly, I still don't know what the rumor is. So I worked with, I said in the last video, I worked with this lady named Melody Allen, and you know, we did this freshman class thing or whatever, and so I talked about that already, so I won't get too much into it. But, you know, after we stopped working together, every time I was anywhere in a situation where she was either a part of or knew about, those people automatically stopped working with me. And so I don't know what the rumor is. I even have a good friend, you know, grew up with him since third grade, Michael Mack, and he had talked to him last year. We were talking about doing music. He was like, "Oh, don't trip. I'll get you back in the studio with X, Y, and Z. You know, yada yada yada." And I was like, "Okay, great." and then all of a sudden he just stopped talking to me. And so I don't know what rumor they're putting out there, and I'm not saying I've been an angel in my entire life, but nothing to where anybody would be like, oh, like, I stay away from that guy, right? And so, I don't know what rumor, that they put out there, but it's definitely affected my career, and I think as time has gone on, and, I dropped Ass Juice and, done some things and worked with some people, I think people are kind of starting to see, like, whatever they're trying to say is BS, but really all it was is to kill my PR, to make sure that, people didn't want to work with me, people don't want to invite me to shows, people don't want to book me, things like that. So, it has affected me in a way to where it's like, okay, well, now I got to do all this on my own. I got to start all this on my own. But at the end of the day, it really showed me who is who. And, unfortunately, that's how it goes in this game. So, it's given me the mentality of, okay, let me go out here, get my money right, get my head right, and, I know exactly how to do it. I know how to do everything. So, really it's up to me to, get out here, get this bag and rebuild myself. Who disappeared first when things got quiet and who stayed? So, a lot of people disappeared. When things got quiet. I used to work with Eddie George. Like, once my money ran dry for my job, and we was doing some stuff for a little bit, but then it became about, oh, well, you're not paying me and this and that, and I'm like, bro, we never paid each other. Like, I've never asked you for no money, you never asked me for no money. We get out here, we shoot the film, we market, and we get paid other ways, right? We market for businesses and we get paid. So I think that was one of the big ones. Because that was a lot of my marketing, that was a lot of my social media that I lost, so that also didn't help, right? For people to be like, oh, well, Mike Swagger, because we always had a lot of people following us. So I think that was one of them. Also, my label executive at the time, Tiffany Gaines, disappeared, and the thing about that one too is like, it's funny because I saw her post something the other day that said, oh, well, do you need funding? Not for me, but just in general, artists need funding. And the thing that I believe she disappeared from was, I was talking to this guy, Mike Robb, and I think I said this in the last video. Oh, well, they're not really doing anything for me, and like, again, when I got signed, she told me she could walk me right into Def Jam, Island, all that stuff based off my music. So I walk you in there right now, but I don't want you to have a 360 deal. I want you to get, I want you to have longevity, and I'm like, I already been in the game almost 10 years, like, what do you mean, like, longevity? So I was like, okay, whatever, no worries, and so the goal for that was, and I don't want to get too much off on a tangent, but the goal for that was, okay, well, we're going to help you learn how to stream your music, right, so you can, like, get a $500 check, and I'm just like, what, you know what I mean, like, $500 a month, like, that's nothing, right, and so now I saw a post that she put, like, I do capital as well, and I'm learning more and more about business funding and all that stuff, and that's what I'm working on for myself. But I saw her post a post, hey, artists, if you need to learn how to get business funding, like, don't worry about the labels, like, you can get it yourself, I'll help you get it. And I'm like, this person disappeared because I told another person that they weren't really doing much for me 3 years ago, and now 3 years in the future, you're telling artists, hey, I can get you business funding. If you would have helped me to get the business funding, I could have put that into my next album. I could have did all that. Not to mention, you're getting a cut. Soon as you get me that business funding, you get 10%. Plus, I'm gonna respend that money with you, and it's just like So that was one person that disappeared. That was really unfortunate because I thought that we were gonna do something major, especially because she liked my commercial style versus all the gangster rappers in LA and all that stuff, and everybody who sounds the same. So that was one person that disappeared. I was pretty disappointed in, but it is what it is. And then other people disappeared and came back around, but it just wasn't the same. And the people who stayed, I will say, again, my brother DJ Mike Louie, he stuck around for me, and even though we had it out a few times and stopped talking for a little bit, he definitely came back around, showed me love. And my boy Keita Rue, K Trey was cool for a little while, but like he was one of those people that wanted to always like disclude me in any opportunities, but willing to take anything that I had. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I just had to stay away from that. But a lot of people actually stayed. The only people that really disappeared, I would say, were people that I really didn't work with that much and really didn't have that much of a connection with. Dude, Mike Storm, I thought he was gonna be one of the people that stuck around. Bounced out as soon as things got a little shaky. You know what I mean? And so it is what it is. But at the end of the day, whoever stayed was supposed to be here, and whoever left is supposed to be gone. Did you ever question your worth or wonder if your music was still your purpose? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would be lying if I'm lying, I'm flying. If I said that I did not question, like wonder if my music was like great or my worth, I'd be lying. And so, when all this happened, I was just like, I started like, man, like, do I really got it like that? Like, like, is my music like, because granted, like, even though a lot of DJs rock with me and everything like that, like, they really want to play the stuff that sounds the same. Unfortunately, like, you would think as a DJ, you want to mix it up, you want to find some, not at all. You know what I mean? Like, they literally play every artist that sounds exactly the same, and like, so you can't really even tell the difference of who's who. There's no definitive style where you're like, oh, that's that artist besides me, right? So it did make me feel that way, because I'm like, man, I'm back to like opening up the show. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a primetime artist. Like, people put me at primetime because my energy is so high. Like, if you put me before and there's somebody with energy low, then you kind of messed up the the rotation. So like, people have started putting me as a primetime artist, not necessarily a headliner, but pretty much primetime. A lot of light around my name and everything like that. And then I'm like all of a sudden I'm like, what? Like, I'm opening up the show? Like, well, hold on, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so it really started kind of putting me in a way where I was like, man, like, start questioning my worth. And then as people started acting funny, I'm like, man, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I mean, now people, they react to me a little bit better, but I'm like, the last couple years, I was like, bro, like, the whole music industry turned their back on me. Everybody hates me. Like, was I really that bad to people? Like, I know that I've always shown love to everybody. I've never been like hating on nobody or trying to snake nobody. And so I'm like, damn, I'm like, what did I do so bad that like people are just like hating on me? And it's like, at the end of the day, or like even, just like blocking me essentially. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's competition. There's sharks, And so if there's blood in the water, like, people going, especially if you're somebody who's known that has, made a name for yourself on your own. No handouts, no nobody's arm around you, no nothing, just solid, getting out there to it and getting to work. When people see there's blood in the water, man, they'll come for you. So I just had to realize that like, I had to listen to my albums a few times, like, bro, ain't nobody touching this right now. Still to this day, I was like, ain't none of these dudes ain't touching this lyricism or creativity. So I was like, okay, it's not that music's not my purpose. It's just that I have to find my way back on my own. It's not going to be about like somebody handing out, just like it wasn't when I got there. It's not going to be somebody handing out, oh yeah, like, here you go, Mike Swagger, like, let's get you, let's do this. Like, it's just not that way anymore. And not for me, not for anybody, right? Unless you already got 1 million followers and all that stuff, ain't nobody about to just give you nothing. Like, you got to earn it either through your following or through your money. So how did your personal life get affected? Relationships, family, love? Wow. So, I mean, my family, I would say it definitely affected my family. I don't want to say it affected my family, but like I pulled away from everybody. Because I was just like, you know what? This is what I want. This is my life. This is my music, and it's suffering. I feel like music is my child. You know, I feel like music is my love, my, you know, the love of my life, and I'm like, my music is suffocating, it's suffering, and it's dying because of, you know, whatever, you know, mistakes I made, and whatever, you know, crap that people try to put on me, you know, and I'm like, it's suffering right now, you know. And so, you know, as far as love goes, like, it was hard for me to, you know, be in a relationship when all I'm and it was hard before, like, when music was going great, it was hard for me to be in a relationship because I'm like, music is my mistress, music is, you know, the woman that I love, that I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to get this to the next level. And like, you know, if you can't respect that, you know, a lot of women can't respect it because they see, you know, oh, well, you out there, a lot of women want you, and blah 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 blah, and so they're automatically insecure, and, you know, so that screws up a lot. But you know, as far as you know, relationships, you know, I would say it affected relationships because, you know, a lot of people want your position, right? They want to be where you're at, you know, or, you know, they want to be famous. Like before, not everybody wanted to be famous. Let me put it that way. Not everybody wanted to be famous. Not everybody had a brand. You know what I'm saying? Like when I started in 2015, not everybody had a brand, and I've been writing music and recording music a lot longer than that. But like when I started my, you know, my brand, Mike Swagger, and, you know, it was like, that was it. You know, that was 2015, and so anyway, not everybody had a brand. You know, people were just regular ass people, and, you know, they went to work and whatever. Now everybody is a freaking brand. So it's hard because, you know, it affects relationships when you're trying to do something and you're like, hey, look, let's work together, blah blah blah, or, you know, hey, like, come out to my shows, and, you know, and everybody feels like they're talented, and a lot of people aren't. Most people aren't talented. Because you have a camera and you can talk on camera doesn't make you talented, you know, or because you did some little thing, like, it doesn't make you talented. But it's like, you know, when you have put in the work, the hours, and all that stuff, and it's like, hey, look, you know what I mean, like, somebody has to support, put it that way. I'm not trying to knock nothing that anybody did or what they feel that they're talented in, but like, somebody's got to be the supporters. There's only one guy. But the problem is with the music industry now is everybody wants to be the guy. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be the famous person. You know, you got your whole crew with you, and everybody's got a brand, and everybody's supposed to be famous, and it's just, I mean, it's just a fight for the likes, you know? And so, you know, that was part of the problem of, you know, really trying to get back, is because everybody's on the same thing. So nobody really wants to support because they think that they should have the big following and everything like that, regardless of what time you put in and, you know, talent you have and all of that. So, was there ever a day you almost walked away from it all? I don't want to say there was a day that I almost walked away from everything, but I remember when my Instagram, my Facebook went down. Oh man, I will say I was close. I was like, what the hell happened? You know, like, I had, and I still to this day think it was the label that I was with. I think they did that, you know, and shame on them for real for that. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm like, what the hell happened? Like, I not only did I lose, like, you know, a lot of my support and following and everything like that, I lost a lot of old pictures of friends, family, you know, things that I had accomplished in those pictures. And, you know, it's just a shame. Like, and that's why, like, you know, like, people are evil, man, you know, and I'm almost 99% sure that it was the label that did that to me. You know what I mean? And they had no right to do that, you know. But, you know, people, and that's why I don't like Instagram. I don't like Facebook, because I'm like, you know what? If they can just delete your stuff like that, and you never get it back, and never even get a chance to get all your pictures and stuff like that, fine. You want to take the account, go ahead. But give me a chance to download all my pictures and stuff. Like, you took 10 years of my freaking life from me. And I was like, man, I spent like 10 years building that. You know, I spent like 10 years building that, and, you know, the connections, and, you know, I had Young California following me, and, you know, I had like the Big Show following me, and like all these like big YouTubers and all this stuff, and like And I'm like, and I just lost it. I lost it, and all those people are gone, and probably will never remember me or accept my friend request or none of that stuff anymore, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so that was very, very disappointing, and it was a moment where I was like, dude, like, what do I do? Now I got to build a new following, and but that's why I'm doing this, because you know what, TikTok actually gives you an opportunity, and it's not. I don't want to sound like this in an ad, but I feel like TikTok is the best opportunity for me to do that, and I haven't really taken it seriously, but I'm like, you know what, at least if I reach out to my fans and potential fans, and I tell my story, I mean, who knows what happens, right? But I'm not gonna give up. Let's see. So, what did isolation teach you about yourself and your resilience? So, isolation taught me a lot. Isolation taught me that, number one, like I've developed a talent, but also a skill. And even though I've had time off, from writing and practicing and doing all that stuff, and I've had to focus on myself and and the things that I wanted to do, and try to, I'm building companies and things like that. And not only that, like, really started learning about the business side of it, the marketing side even more. And so when I do what I do, I can do it seamlessly, and then also possibly find other talent, right? That's what MIKETV is about. So what it taught me is number one, I have a skill set that I've developed, and it's not going anywhere. And I used to be like, man, like if I'm not out there recording, and if I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, like what's gonna happen? And I feel like when that happens to people, is because they're not writing their own stuff. When they leave and they come back and they're not better, or at least just as good, then I feel like they're not writing their own stuff. Or they're way overproduced, like, and maybe they lost their producer or whatever, and they just weren't that good, but somebody else was in there helping them do it. So for me, I feel like the isolation also taught me how to be comfortable stepping away. The isolation also taught me about myself as like, okay, do you really need all of that validation? That was another thing. Do you need all that validation from everybody? Or are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing this because you love music? Are you doing this because you want all the girls, and you want all the attention, and you want all the cameras on you? Are you doing music because you love it? Right? Are you doing it because you love it? Are you doing it because you want people to hear it, that can feel some type of way and have fun, and you want to I don't want to necessarily say change the game, but like I said, everything sounds the same. Like, do you want to do it because you want to do something different, and you want to make a statement in your music, right? Do you want to have that timeless music that people can always come back to and listen to and love, and make something that matters, right? Make something that matters to people. And as far as resilience, it definitely taught me. It definitely taught me that I can keep going whenever I need to. Whenever I need to keep going, I can keep going, and I can make everything happen. That I can make it all happen again. I can make it all happen again. So, let me see here. Okay, I wanted to see what they were saying, man. Things are not going well with this new job, but hopefully it pans out. Okay. So, what was the turning point that made you say, I'm done being silent, I'm taking my power back? That turning point was, a friend of mine, Georgina. She always pushed me to get my power back. She always say, "Hey, look, man, take your power back, take your power back." And I think when I think it was the song One Liners. When I was just like, I was so tired of like, everybody was like, being silent about me and, cutting me off and all this stuff. And, I'm like, dude, like, I haven't done nothing to nobody. And like, nobody was liking stuff on my Instagram and, they're acting funny, whatever. And I got sick of it. And, I don't know if this is after my friend Michael Mack disappeared, but I wrote the song One Liners because I was like, you know what? I said, I'm going to put everybody on blast. I'm going to put everybody on blast. I'm going to even put myself on blast of the people that I've worked with that have irritated me and the things that have happened over the course of the last few years. And I was like, I'm just going to do a track and all I'm going to do is like just throw a bunch of punchlines at everybody. I was like, that's it. You know what I mean? I'm just going to throw a bunch of punchlines at everybody and, we'll see what happens. And One Liners turned out to be a really dope song. And that was actually kind of the start of, me stepping back out because, nobody had heard me do anything. Like, seriously, I was just doing like some BS freestyles or whatever. And some of them were good, but like I hadn't written anything. And then so I wrote One Liners and like people kind of was like, oh, okay, Mike Swagger ain't going nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Mike Swagger, he ain't went nowhere. This is the Mike Swagger we know, but better. Right? Because that energy, that irritation that I had was like, it came out in a different way. And not only that, top of that, because I'd been practicing my freestyle so much, I kind of found myself in a different style that was just like more I don't even want to say up to date, but like it was more relevant to the people that are the gatekeepers and the people that are in the circle on a regular basis. It sounded something similar to what they would like to listen to or what's familiar to them and still my style, but I had developed myself a lot through those freestyles. And so yeah, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to sit here and be silent. I'm going to write about it. And that's what, as an artist, I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to write about this kind of stuff and, record it, not just sit here and pretend like it's not happening. So how'd you rebuild yourself? How'd you start to rebuilding yourself, your team, your energy, and your confidence? So that was recently. That was this year, 2025. When in summer I came back to LA. And I had to put all my stuff in a storage, and I pulled up to this U.S. storage in Glendale, and there was this car outside, and it said Slimer on the side. It had the Slimer and the Ghostbusters on it. Dope car, you know what I mean? Like, and it had like these pink rims with it, like the purple and the the Slimer. It was like, it was dope. Anytime anybody sees that car, they're like, oh damn. And so I went in there, hit it off with the guy. At first I was like, I thought it was gonna be like some kind of asshole in there and I was like, oh, let me go in there and see what's up. People drive cars like this, man. They usually they got a way about themselves. And so I'm like, yo, what's going on, man? Awesome guy, Steven. And I call him Slimer now. But anyway, awesome dude. And so we just started talking about real estate and Kauai and like all this stuff, And I was like, oh, bro, I can't wait to move back there. Or I want to move there, blah, blah, blah. And I said, man, that car is dope. I said, I'm an artist. I said, I would love to do a video with it. And so, we exchanged numbers and everything like that. And so I had a show or a gig I was going to in Hollywood. And so I'm like, hey, bro, like I got this gig I'm going to and I'm trying to rebuild myself. So like if you can come out. And he was like, yeah, I'll bring some other cars. And I was like, cool. So he pulls up with a Storm car and this other like Afro Samurai car, dope cars. And I was like, woo. I was like, man, they pulled up. I was like, okay, yeah, we on. And so we drove down to that, that was cool. And then I was like, bro, I said, we got to do that music video. And so we were going to do One Liners, right? That song that brought me back. And so I was like, that pretty much brought me back. And I said, we're going to do One Liners, And then Joey Badass had dropped a track, and he was like dissing the West Coast and it was going back and forth or whatever. And so I jumped on there and did a diss song, because I jumped on TikTok and I was like, oh man, like what? I said, oh man, I could just talk about Joey Badass and diss him better, blah, blah, blah. And so they pumped me up on TikTok. I wasn't even going to go do a diss track. And so, but they pumped me up and I said, no, I got to get paid for this. And so anyway, they ended up pumping me up. And so I do the diss track and everybody's like, oh man. They was like, are you serious? And I was like, dude. And it was like, man, that shit is slapping. That shit is slapping. So the day before we were supposed to shoot that, one-liners, I was like, nah, we're changing to this song, Ass Juice. And we shot that, and everybody was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And then everybody really opened their arms back up because they saw it. It was like, ooh, and it had the West Coast sound. I really don't normally have like a West Coast sound, but like that one had the West Coast sound, like all the way down to my voice, to the beat, to the everything. You know what I mean? We had the cars, the graffiti, the LA River in the background, and everybody was like, ooh, you know. And so that made people pay attention again, you know, which was dope because, you know, up until then, I wasn't really receiving a lot of love. And, you know, I hadn't dropped any videos. I haven't really dropped any music in a year. And I dropped that, and everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, we forgot. You do that. Like, you for real do that. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, bro, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, like, I could drop a song a year, and y'all be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, but, so that's kind of how I started rebuilding myself. And my energy, and, you know, who I am, and my confidence, that really helped me out to do that. And another thing I'm doing right now to build my confidence is just build up my pockets. That's it. You know what I mean? I feel like I got it all, and right now it's just time to focus on that. So what changes did you make to protect yourself and your art this time around? Well, the changes I made to protect myself and my art this time around is, number one, watching the people that I'm surrounded around. You know, my discernment, really, you know, understanding, you know, the energy that I dealt with before that turned on me, right? The energy that I saw, the people that I dealt with, that, you know, I had just been like, okay, you know, these people were supposed to be around and they're not. And so really, again, my discernment, to protect myself and to protect my, you know, to protect my art, you know, just not just giving it out, not just giving it to anybody, like really protecting the fact that, okay, well, you know, I want to do business with my art. I want this to be a business. So at the end of the day, if you want music, you're going to have to pay for it. Or you're going to have to do, like, you know, not just like, oh, well, I just want to sign to your label because say I'm signed. Like, what am I getting out of it? I can distribute my own music. I have to pay for everything. I have to pay for my marketing, my PR, I have to pay for everything. I have to pay to get to my shows, you know, to do my social media. I have to pay for everything. So why do I need you? So protecting my art has just been like about realizing that I don't need a label unless they're paying me, you know, unless they're giving me money. And not just putting my stuff out there, you know, for people to just steal, you know, or to just copy when I'm not ready to, you know, full-blown market, you know, what I have and put it out there. And sorry, this thing keeps going off. Jesus Christ. So what's one piece of advice you give to new artists about protecting their music and their mind? So, funny enough, giving advice to artists about protecting their music is the first time I got blackballed. It's the first time. I would say to protect your music, man. There's ways and websites that you can use that will allow people to view your music without being able to download it or share it. I would look into that. And main thing is, I would say, you know, hoard your music. Hoard it until it's ready to go, until you're ready to have, you know, the marketing and the PR behind it to where you don't have to stop and where you can be consistent. That's one of the things that I feel like that's held me back. And they say that a lot now, you know. It's like you don't want to put something out and then it's cool and then people are like, dope, but then you can't keep promoting it. You can't keep going to shows. You can't, you know, do the merch. You can't do this. You can't do that. That really holds you back. And so it's like you can have the greatest song in the world, and again, people say this all the time, you can have the greatest song in the world, but like if you're not able to continue to market it, somebody might just take that idea and do a better job than it, you know, better, I don't even want to say better job, they just might do better in financing, you know, the dream. You know, they might say, oh, well, that was a great, you know, that was a great song, but, you know, they're not doing anything with it, so let me use that concept, you know, and go make $1 million with it, right? And that's happened to me. So I would say, you know, as far as, you know, protecting your music, hoard it until you're ready, get your money up, and then, get out there, get ready. As far as protecting your mind, just realize a lot of this stuff is fake, man. A lot of this stuff is fake. It's so fake. People are fake. They're conniving. They're sharks. They lie. People will set you up on some crazy stuff. I'm not even talking about be robbed. Obviously, that happens too. But just what I mean. Just to try to make you look stupid. Or to get you on film doing something crazy. It's just don't take it. Take the business seriously, but don't take all the other stuff seriously. Really have discernment and be just kind of like now today, I used to be okay, hanging on to what people was talking about and all that stuff. Now I just kind of look at people, see what they talking about. You know what I mean? Really kind of looking through them, seeing straight through them. Okay, what's this person about? What's this person about? What's this person about? They said this, but what does that really mean? Oh, let's work, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, let's work, let's do this. All right, Let me turn this down because the thing keep popping off. Let's work, let's, oh yeah. Come to the studio, but they don't want to, they don't want to put nothing behind it, or whatever, hey, let's do a show, or hey, I want to book you for a show, but they want to charge you. You know what I mean? What? So just realize a lot of this stuff is fake. People gonna try you. People are, they're gaslighters. You know what I mean? Pay attention to that. People gaslight you like crazy. Just don't take anything personal. Don't take anything personal. Just stick to the business. And if they do funny business, don't do business with them no more. Don't take it personal. Let's see. How has your view of fame and success changed after everything you've been through? So how my view of success has changed after everything I've been through, honestly, I would say it's changed a lot based off of what I've seen and what I've been through. So, seeing all these people that are superstars, go down in just crazy ways for doing crazy things. I'm wow. I thought these people were X, Y, and Z, and they're not. You know what I mean? And, they're common criminals, pretty much, And, but as far as me, I used to say I haven't been successful yet. I haven't been successful. And I'm man, I've met so many people that I never thought I'd meet when I was a kid. I been on stage with them and everything like that. Been in studios, all that. And I feel that I've been not only in music but on TV, and I feel like I've been very successful in my career. I don't feel like I've reached the heights that I wanted to get to yet, or that I want to get to yet. And I'm not even sure what that is anymore, based off of some of the things I've seen, right? So I'm okay, what level do I want to go to based off of the things that I do know about now, or the things that the world has seen, right? So. But have I been successful? I used to be man, and I remember this one kid told me, you failed. I'm bro, I was bro, my stuff is on the radio right now. What are you talking about? In Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? On Dash Radio playing right now. And so, and I'm helping this kid out, and he's doing good now too, you know what I mean, by the way. But I would say, my view of success, that I used to feel like I failed. I did feel like I failed, even though I corrected him. I did feel in some ways that I had failed. But thinking about it and looking back, it's man, I've had so much success in my career. Now have I don't want to say even fallen short, and probably in some ways I have fallen short, where I could have scaled and I rescinded. Could I have been further in my career now? Absolutely. Hadn't been for some mistakes, some wrong moves, some bad relationships, definitely could have been further in my career right now, and this damn tablet's pissing me off, man. Like, I swear I never get this many notifications, but now that I'm doing this, I'm getting a ton of notifications. The enemy is real. So anyway, the success that I've had, I feel that it could have been greater by now had I not made a lot of mistakes in my life and in my career. But I feel like I do have an opportunity to build it the right way now. I told you, look, it's just like this thing does not give a damn right now. Hold on, let me see if I can turn off this. I've never, ever, 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 ever had this many notifications in a row. And it's just like, so, yeah, so that's what I feel about that. Is like, I could have been further, but I feel like now I have a chance to build it with more meaning than just being some cool guy, that's, around cool people and yada yada yada. Like, I have a chance to really build a company, with the knowledge that I have, and not only change my life but change the life of others. Let's see. What part of the struggle made you fall back in love with music? The part of the struggle that made me fall back in love with music is probably that itself. It is the struggle, right? You know what I mean? Like, when I first started, struggle, trying to get this music done, trying to have enough time and enough money to get to the studio, and needing that break to really get some music recorded, and how am I going to get to the studio? I need to get some money, I need to do this, I need to do that, and and really, like, the struggle of becoming a new artist. And it's like a rebirth, right? It's like a rebirth for me as an artist, where it's like, yeah, I built so much success, but now I get to do it all over again in another way, and I get to recreate myself, and this time with consistency, with discernment again, and also with a new passion, and this time to, like, understand that I learned from my mistakes. And so for me, it's like, wow, like, when I listen to music and I think about writing this music and doing what I'm doing, I'm like, man, I cannot wait to give them what they deserve. I can't wait to give my fans and the people who are waiting on this type of music and my name, I can't wait to give them what they deserve. Because this time I know what to do, and I know how to do it right, and I know what to stay away from and who to stay away from. I know how to move this time. I'm a little older. I'm a little smarter. So it's time to do it right this time. What keeps you grounded and focused now? What keeps me grounded and focused now is just learning. Education. Like, I'm educating myself on so many different things. Real estate, finances. Learning more about even music, marketing, just learning. Like, I love to learn. I always have. And so, the more I learn, the more I'm like, oh, okay, like, this is not going to be so hard. You know what I mean? This is not going to be so tough. But as long as I keep learning, how to move forward and doing the right things to stay, in position, then, it's only a matter of time. So, I just try to learn what I can, stay out of troubles, stay focused, again, stay around the right people, and that's it. What did you learn about the difference between real love and industry love? Whew. Real love and industry love? I don't really know. I feel like I've surrounded myself around so many industry people. Maybe I don't really know the difference, and that's kind of sad to say. Even the relationship I was in at the time, she knew me as an artist first, before she really knew me as a person. And I feel like that that wasn't a good thing, you know, and that's my fault. I told the girl, you know, hey, if you want to get to know me, listen to my album. You know, I'm freaking promoting myself. But anyway, I mean, it was a decent relationship for a little bit, but you know, I really don't know. I really don't know the biggest difference between real love and industry love, and that's a little sad to say. You know, I know that some people care about me. I know that some people want to see me do well, you know, and but I think I've been an artist for so long that people see me as that, and that's what they cling to, you know. And so I don't know if they love Dwayne or if they love Mike Swagger, you know, or if it's love at all, or if it's just like, you know, infatuation, you know. But I know there's some people who care about me. I know there's those people who care about me, and I appreciate that. I know there's one person that loves me, that, you know what I mean, like, and I've had it out with this person a few times, you know, this chick friend of mine. I feel like she loves who I am, and and regardless of whatever happens, you know, wants the best for me. And I feel like that's probably one person that I can say that I feel like truly loves me, even though, you know, we're not together or anything like that. We tried, it didn't work, you know, but you know, still a good friend of mine. I feel like that person, I feel like she actually loves me, and loves me for me, regardless whether I quit music today and just said, hey, I'm only gonna do real estate, or, you know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, you know, she would always like have my best and say, you know, hey, listen, like, you can do it, you know what I mean, and stick by my side as a friend. So, you know, I feel like that's the difference I can feel. So they want to talk about the comeback, the strength, the freedom. So what does your comeback represent, not just to fans, but to yourself? So what my comeback represents, not just to my fans, but to myself, is that anything is possible. Regardless of how bad it gets, anything is possible. And not only that, but the people you surround yourself around is everything. Or the people that you know, isolate yourself from makes the biggest difference in your life. Because at the end of the day, like, people will drag you down. They will drag you right down with them. Mentally, physically, whatever. They will drag you down. And for me, my comeback represents like strength, resilience, like the mentality of, you know, being able to stay away from, you know, bad habits, you know, bad people, you know, or I don't want to say bad people, but misguided people. You know, it resembles, or, you know, to me, it says, you know, how, you know, I've stopped making mistakes in my life, right? You know, the fact that, you know, it also says that, like, you know, that I've not only talented but skilled, like, you know, that I've developed you know, an indefinite skill that I can utilize that makes people happy, and that, you know, and it also says that this is something that I'll never give up. I'll never quit. I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. At the end of the day, you know, most people in my position would have quit, would have gave up. I know some people who have. I'm not a quitter. How does your new music reflect everything you survived? I wouldn't say my new music reflects everything I've survived. You know, I'm working on an album right now, or at least I picked the beats out for it, and it's kind of fun. It's fun, and there is some things in there that probably will explain things that I've gone through. And honestly, you know, after this question, I'm like, oh, okay. But like, I mean, you know, I like making music for the ladies, you know, and stuff like that. But also, I've had a lot of trouble with women over the years, you know. So, I mean, that was AKA the one though. So, you know, I did that, and, you know, I've had a lot of good times, obviously, too. But you know, My new music, I would say, is more fun. Um, that might be a mixtape, but also, my commercial music usually does depict whatever happened in my life. And all my music usually depicts what happens in my life. I really don't write, just whatever music that doesn't mean anything. It's always usually my life. So, the question was, how does your new music reflect everything you survived? I wouldn't say, it's going to go too deep into like, oh my God, like, I survived this, I survived that. But, it will talk about some of these things. It will talk about some of the people that, have done me dirty, or some of the people that stuck by my side and all that stuff. But, I don't want to get too deep into that for the whole album. But maybe I should. I'm considering that. What message do you want to send anyone who tried to count you out? I got a middle finger for you. No. So the message I want to send to anybody to try to count me out: keep counting. Keep counting. That's it. Keep counting. You know what I mean? Till you out of fingers, till you out of toes. I don't care. You know what I mean? Keep counting. I count till you get to infinity. It doesn't matter. You can't count me out. You got to count me in. Like, you can't count me out, because at the end of the day, like, this is not about like anybody else's timing. It's God's timing. Simple and plain. I wish I could say it's my timing, but it's not. It's God's timing. I just got to be ready for it. My job is just getting ready for it. My job is staying prepared. My job is to get out here and make some money, and get prepared and line everything up so God can do what God does. Like He always does, like He always has for me. So whoever trying to count me out, man, like, you know what I mean? You one of the enemies, you one of the enemy's people. Because God has already shown me what is in store for me, but I have to stay on this path. So, again, keep counting. Okay, what's one lyric in your new era that defines who you are now? Okay, I would say, it's not a crazy lyric or nothing like that. But when I did Ass Juice, I said something about the West Coast on what they waiting for, and like, to me that actually felt good. Like, I'm what the West Coast waiting for. I can't remember what else I said after that, because it's just like, whatever right now. But yeah, so that lyric in Ass Juice, when I said I'm what they waiting for, like the West Coast is waiting for, like, that actually did make me feel good, because I'm like, I do feel like they're waiting for me. And I'm not saying like they're like, oh, Mike Swagger, like, when you gonna drop? But I feel like when I do, they're ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, they're waiting for me. They're not like, they haven't counted me out. Like, everybody hasn't been like, oh, well, Mike Swagger, he done. Yeah, you know what I mean? I feel like they're waiting, like, okay, Mike, like, whenever you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, whenever you're ready, Mike. Like, we know what you can do. So just whenever you're ready, whenever you get it together, like, we're here. And so that's what defines. I feel like that lyric defines who I am now, which is like, I do it on my time. I'm not gonna let people rush me and feel like, oh, I gotta hurry up and drop something. Oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. Nah, I'm what they're waiting for. You know what I mean? When I'm ready, when things are better, and I have time, and I have the finances to drop this the right way and give you guys what you're waiting on, then I'll give it to you. Until then, I appreciate you. What legacy do you want to leave behind when people look back on your story? That's a special question. The legacy I want to leave behind when people look back at my story is, man, all resilience. Just resiliency. And I know it sounds cliche to say, don't quit, don't ever quit, just keep going. But like, my entire life has been about being resilient, about not quitting, and it's almost a little bit stubborn. You know what I mean? Like, but not quitting, not taking no for an answer. Really fighting to get what you want, and to do the things that you want, and being not just resilient, but creative in, how you get things done. Like when I didn't have the money, I was creative about how I got things done, how I got myself on the radio, how I got on major stages, and also I listened to other people that, that gave me some game. And that's another thing is being able to take that, that critique, that advice from people, right? Being able to take that critique and, use the good and throw out the bad. You know what I mean? So I guess when people look back on my story, it's just like, I want people to see a man who like didn't really have the upbringing that most people have, and didn't have the mother, didn't have the father, didn't really have any role models, and had to learn how to navigate the world and still became successful. And I mean, at a certain point, I'm almost 40. Like, I won't say almost 40, but yeah, I am almost 40. Next year I'll be 40. And at a certain point, you can't blame nobody. You can't, you make your own decisions. But not even having people to, as you get older, to talk to that makes sense to tell you, or not want to say tell you, but to guide you in the right directions, And so that's why I always say, like, get yourself around the right people. Because if I would have surrounded myself around the right people, probably I would have made better decisions. But I didn't. So, but I looking back at my story, I want people to see that, like, even though life can, start off bad, get better, get bad again, get better again, never give up. Don't quit. Just, we're always rebuilding ourselves, we're always rebuilding ourselves, and definitely stick with God. You know what I mean? Like, definitely stick with God, because, there's been a lot of times in my life where I forgot him and he forgot me too. I don't want to say he forgot me, but like, he reminded me, actually. He didn't forget me. He reminded me that he's the one that I needed. And I just want people to see that, regardless of, who's there, like, of who is in your life, you have to look out for you. You have to look out for you. You got to do it for yourself. You can't sit around hoping everybody helps you or wants you to get to the next level and all that stuff. You have to do it for yourself. You got to want it for yourself, whatever it is. You got to have it for yourself. You got to want it for yourself. After everything, the highs, the betrayals, the silence, why should the world believe in you again right now? So after everything, the highs, the lows, the betrayal, why should the world believe in me right now? I'm just going to show them. That's a question I can't answer. I can't tell people why they should believe in me. I can't say, well, you should believe in me because I said it. You know what I mean? Like, I can say, oh, well, you should believe in me because, I haven't quit. Like, you just have to wait and see. Like, and not only that, like, I have to continue this action. I have to continue every day putting in the work, walking the right path, action. And then people will start to believe in me. Am I doing this so people believe in me? No. I mean, if you're literally like, oh, well, I'm doing this so people will believe in me, like, you're already lost. People will believe in you when they see the consistency, when they see the action, when they see the dedication, when they see all of that stuff. And so I'm not doing this for people to believe in me. For people to believe in me is the result of me believing in myself. And that's all I got to say about that. That's my 50 questions. I appreciate everybody for watching, listening, loving, and learning anything if you did. I'm going to start doing more topics and everything like that, chopping them up, putting them on TikTok. I will start another TikTok channel. We have a lot of time right now. for clips and everything like that. So I will start clipping everything probably after we do maybe another like 10 videos or something like that, another 10 hours, and we're just gonna clip it all up, man, and we're gonna start this journey. So I really want to say I appreciate you guys. I am, one of the things I want to do is I want to get into some of my drives as well, and I want to start like getting all that old footage and stuff like that and putting that on my TikTok. And so that we'll probably start with like 3,000 videos or something crazy, you know what I mean? Like, and we'll just like schedule them out for a year, and you guys will get to know me. I'm Mike Swag, AK1. Peace. As soon as I can get this